the phone there. Okay. Okay. We may start. Yeah, we may start. Yeah. Starting. Mhm. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the EuroDIG workshop from Internet users to digital citizens. My name is Narine Khachatryan, and I work for Safer Internet Armenia. Our workshop is co-organized by the Internet Society European Affairs Bureau, and we have distinguished speakers today with us who will help us to explore what digital literacy means in today's world. Stephen Weiber, who is responsible for policy and advocacy work at the International Federation of Library Associations. Crystal Rilo from the Estonian Ministry of Education and Research. Crystal is currently working on digital education policy, 21st century skills agenda, and lifelong learning. She has been leading Estonia's digital skills program since 2013. Vitor Tome, Educational Policy Division of the Council of Europe. Vitor has PhD in education. He is also a professional journalist and in-service teacher trainer and researcher. He is a member of the Council of Europe Digital Citizenship Working Group, and he coordinates currently digital citizenship education and democratic participation project in Portugal. Clara Sommier, an analyst within the public policy and governmental relations team at Google in Brussels. Before joining Google, Clara worked in the European Parliament, focusing on fundamental rights. And we are also honored today to have with us Dr. Signe Balina, who is Counselor to the Minister for Environmental Protection and Regional Development in Latvia, the ministry which is responsible for information society and e-government. Dr. Balina is a president of Latvian ICT Association, and she is also a leader of IT Competence Center. And also she is a former special assignments minister for electronic government affairs in Latvia. Oliana Sula from Albania. She's a lecturer and researcher and doctoral student at the Estonian Business School in Tallinn. She will help us to co-moderate the session. Everyone in the room is invited to contribute to the discussion, and remote participants are more than welcome to send their comments and questions. Everyone today is trying to figure out what kind of skills and competencies are necessary for the 21st century. The notion that there is a digital skill gap is now widely accepted. But are governments, educational institutions, employers, or civil society organizations getting the whole picture? What type of digital skills and competencies are required for a successful, globally connected digital economy and knowledge-based society? And the evidence is rather disturbing. The recent OECD study on adult skills suggests that the majority of adults living in those countries have no ICT skills, have no basic ICT skills, or have just basic skills to perform simple tasks in technology-rich environments, such as writing an email or browsing the web. The study says that the most part of adult population living in those countries, on average, have low proficiency in problem solving in a technology-rich environment. And technology doesn't wait. It continues to advance and change our everyday lives as rapidly as the skill profile of our jobs, where most of the tasks are to be replaced by machines. No doubt, digital literacy is as important as internet access. But while traditional definitions of digital literacy refer to basic ICT user skills, they are no longer sufficient in today's internet environment. Our workshop will discuss today what digital literacy means and how can we upgrade the existing skill sets to correspond to the new reality. Do digital natives who grow up with internet access automatically develop, by default, digital literacy skills, helping to improve their education, helping them to better participate in their societies? And what educational strategies should be applied not to deepen the existing divides between technology literate and those who are not? And I have a pleasure to welcome Stephen Weiber, who will tell us about the work that libraries are doing to help people to become digital citizens. The floor is yours, Stephen.
Thank you, and good morning, and thanks for having me here. As Narina set out, I work for the International Federation of Library Associations and Institutions, and I think it's always worth underlining, I think everyone is aware that libraries were set up by governments, by philanthropists, by societies in order to help communities, in order to help people become citizens. And the way of doing this is through the principle of access to information, meaningful access to information, allowing people to go out, find what they need and actually use it, apply it in helpful ways. Clearly, we're in a changing environment. We're here, this is the European Internet Governance Forum. Things are becoming internetized, which I think was a UNESCO term used a few years ago. This sort of means that the way of being a citizen, the way of being engaged is clearly changing with it. Sadly, of course, we haven't thrown away the old inequalities we had, the old problems we had. These are just manifesting themselves in different ways. So the need to be able to go out and make sure that everyone can benefit from the possibility to be a citizen is as strong as ever. And this is one of the areas where libraries come in. In the past, libraries were the ones who made sure that people couldn't afford to buy books, still had access to culture, to information. They were the ones that helped people to come together as communities, the one public space that was available. And this is happening in the digital age as well. So what I'm going to try and do, which will complement what Noreen's mentioned there, was just give a couple of practical examples of how citizenship, digital citizenship, is being developed in libraries. I'm not going to try and define digital citizenship myself. I'm sure everyone has ideas. I think the examples I give will sort of evoke different dimensions of this and different sets of skills, different sort of curricula that might lead on to there. I have very expert panelists who can go much into more depth on the sort of specific curricula and so on. So I think the interest of the library example is because these are local institutions. So you're looking at how efforts come together on the ground, how the digital interacts with the non-digital, interacts with the social and everything else. So first example I'm going to give comes from the US. Now, in the US, the concept of digital community archives is a very strong one. Now, there was a project that was supported in Denver, Colorado, a couple of years back, where they received a grant from the Institute of Museum and Library Studies to set up infrastructure, but then went out to neighborhoods which were in rapid change. So these are often poorer neighborhoods, ones being gentrified, vulnerable groups, often from tribal groups, people who were really at risk of losing their citizenship rights. And what they did is they sat down with them, they brought them together to talk about what makes the community, what makes them special, give them a sense of ownership, of actual sort of being aware of themselves. But then, this is the digital bit, how to actually build your own archive, how to curate content, how to create and curate it, how to add media, create media, how to add metadata, how to actually present yourself online in a way that allows you to value yourself. One potential definition of digital citizenship. Second example comes from Colombia this time. This is a nice example of bringing together elements around data literacy skills, political engagement. So a project in Colombia has seen environmental sensors placed into libraries in Medellin. Medellin is a very polluted city. The government's conscious of this, something needs to be done. And so what the libraries have done is they've placed this data, but then they've got citizens together to use the data. So again, this is potentially another digital skills. How do you access data, use it, manipulate it, get it to tell you stories? And this has been a fantastic way of getting people into one room, talking about how information from the internet can be applied and how to use it to involve yourself in civic engagement. Again, a potential definition of digital citizenship. Final example comes from Europe this time, from Croatia, where Zagreb city libraries have had an initiative to work with the homeless. Of course, this is another group at risk of losing their general citizenship, not to mention their digital citizenship. And due to exclusion, due to a lack of skills, due to low self-worth, poor self-image, what the library did there was go out to the homeless shelter, because that's where people felt more comfortable, bring with it IT. And this was a partnership. So the library was the one that taught about how do you search for jobs online, how do you use keywords, how do you actually analyze what's there, what's a good job, what's a poor job, what's probably a bogus job, how to develop your own CV, how to present yourself. They worked alongside social workers who worked on confidence, on networking skills, on presentation skills, and so on. It's a sort of mix of things that allow people, again, to become free economic citizens. And this has been, plenty of people have had jobs, but I think the most interesting outcome from this is that a number of the homeless people involved have gone on to become ICT skill trainers. So they've gone from being recipients to being producers, to being educators of other people, which is fantastically empowering as a way forward. So that's the third example. I'm going to let others sort of do interpretation. You should think yourselves about how this sort of manifests digital citizenship, but I think they provide nice examples of how when you're on the ground or when you bring together all the ideas and the resources and when you have contact with the communities, with the people who need the help, you can actually achieve some progress.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Stephen. So very interesting presentation from you, and I just would like to continuing with what you have said, and just would like to emphasize those competencies. I would like to refer to the European Digital Competence Framework for citizens of what it means to be digitally savvy in an increasingly globalized and digital world. And it sets 5 areas of competencies. Like if we try to structure what you have told, information literacy and data literacy, communication and collaboration, including e-citizenship, digital content creation, safety, including privacy awareness and protection of one's own well-being in a digital environment, problem solving, which is about creatively using digital technologies. So my question is to Crystal. Are those skills, what do you think, are those skills developed automatically by digital natives who grow up with internet access? Or if not, how to ensure that these skills are adequately promoted in the curriculum, in teacher development, in assessment practices, and in learning content? Crystal, the floor is yours.
Thank you. And the straightforward answer to your question would be that no. The digital natives today, they are of course, as we say, digital natives, they are of course very good consumers. They are more able or willing to take risks and to test different buttons. Probably older people are not so eager to try different versions when some kind of errors appear on the screen. But the youngsters are doing that. So they become more competent in consuming different hardware or software solutions. But for sure, they are also facing more risks. You already mentioned the safety issue that we have on the table, not only for the data, but also regarding health, for example. And and this is something that needs to be addressed also in the formal education and also by families, every family. The work area for schools has grown significantly when the digital world came into picture. Now the schools do not have to address only the students within the school buildings, but also the parents behind the children who at some point are very aware parents, but but there are also parents that are against digital means or against the digital evolution or revolution, as one might see it. And this is something for teachers and schools to face. It's, in Estonia, it's necessary to bear three things in mind. First, with the resources in our disposal, we simply cannot afford being non-digital. So we need to make our processes and system very efficient. Secondly, education is highly valued. 95% of children go to kindergarten. It's starting from 1.5 years up to 6 years. And we have also defined very clear learning outcomes for kindergartens. So this kind of starting level for schools is sort of generalized, or it's more simple for schools to take on the students in schools. And the third is that IT is highly appreciated and emphasized by different stakeholders. Never mind which kind of politics are in power or private sectors are increasing, everybody are appreciating IT skills and also the usage of IT solutions. It's very easy in Estonia, if you're doing the right thing, you can make the changes happen very fast. And bearing in mind also those three aspects. And we put this digital competence, or we regulated the digital competence in our curricula in 2014. It doesn't matter that nothing happened before that, because we had technology and innovation in our curricula already before that, since 2008. But it does not bring along the impact. If you have something regulated, the implementation must follow. So it's pretty clear that we had to start explaining what the digital competence is all about, and that's why also this framework coming from the Commission researchers was very useful. We took the 5 competencies, we adjusted those to Estonian circumstances and age groups in schools, because the framework is for citizens. And we introduced it into our curriculum. It was in 2014. Since then, we have been explaining to teachers and schools and to the public what is digital competence all about. Because it was really the case that the teachers asked us the question whether we should now start teaching coding in foreign language or something, foreign language lessons or something like that. The others thought that it's simple computer literacy, how to use Word or Excel. So a lot of explaining had to be done. I believe that, and also the teacher training. Teacher training was also following simultaneously. As soon as we had this regulation in place in national curriculum, we introduced the teacher trainings. The teacher trainings before then was more focused on computer literacy. But then it had more focus on how to develop student skills and how to use technology for pedagogy. This is this digital competence part, which is one dimension of 3 we are addressing in education system. Mm-hmm. It's like the digital skills for consumers or for using to be competitive enough in the information society. The second set of digital skills is digital skills for profession. Like I mentioned already, for the teachers, how they would actually effectively use technology, supporting them in teaching. Whether they use robots in teaching math or 3D printers in art lessons or these kind of activity monitors in the physics education, it's up to them, because we have agreed only the learning outcomes, how teachers achieve it, it's up to them. And the third set of digital skills as I said, it had to be explained what kind of skills is meant, because even if you look at the different regulations coming from different policymakers, it is not commonly understood what is meant by digital skills. The second part, the digital skills for work, is actually the trickiest part, because how it's possible to foresee what kind of IT skills will be needed for 10 years, when today's children, like my youngest going to school this year, will enter into labor market in, I don't know, maybe 13 years. So probably I should start teaching something to her already today. In school or at home, it depends on the skills, whether I'm competent or not. But this is something very difficult to predict, because ministries or education systems are conducting skills panoramas to identify what kind of IT skills will be there necessary for future work. And the best coming from there is IT skills or coding skills. Really, coding in every profession? Probably not. But understanding what the coding is all about and what coding or technology could bring as value added to their fields, it's another story. And another aspect from the personal experience, then I attended one research presentation. It was half a year ago, again regarding skills panorama, where this kind of book, accountants and metal workers and these kind of fields were in question. And for example, that we don't need in the future as many accountants as we need today, because the accounting is done by the software solutions and we need more analysts. And going home and just talking to my husband about this topic, and then my son comes along, 10-year-old, and said that I decided to become a YouTuber. Okay, it wasn't listed in the skills panorama set, where can you study it? Now, I've decided because, this and that YouTuber earns this many millions, and why not? I like video editing, I like this kind of thing, and it's beneficial, so I will become a YouTuber. Okay, we made that channel for him with close control and monitoring, of course, and within 2 weeks, he earned $8. 10-year-old with this kind of idea, earning $8. The education system has a huge challenge to address these youngsters today, and this has to be done differently. We have solved it with the flexible curriculum, leaving the autonomy to teachers, and agreeing on learning results.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Crystal. You have brought amazing examples, and this is very interesting that, as you said, people in Estonia cannot afford not being digitally literate, and as we see, there is a great focus on bringing internet skills into the school classroom, and there is even a trend towards integrating coding into the core curriculum, and not only in Estonia, but across most of Europe. But when we prioritize those technical skills or generic literacy skills, how can we address a much more complex digital skill, a much more complex digital skills phenomenon? The idea that today's students and tomorrow's workers are not just passive recipients of information, they are themselves becoming content makers, expressing and presenting their ideas to wide audiences. They not only understand problems, but can produce solutions to problems. And they not only know how to use technology, but they can apply it creatively and produce and create something new. Vitor, can you please tell us about your experience in the field and about the Council of Europe's Digital Citizenship Working Group approaches to digital literacy and digital citizenship? The floor is yours.
Thank you, Narine. My personal experience, I'm working with 800 families and their children from 3 to 9 years old in Portugal. First, I started training teachers, preschool and primary school teachers, and then we start working. This was in January 2016, and now the project is going bigger and bigger. And in next September, we are going to start a new project, a similar project in Lisbon area, starting from a public library, the main public library in Lisbon, just to see. But I think it's really, really important. It is crucial to start at the preschool and primary school level. And if we don't train teachers first, it will be impossible. And even if we train teachers first, it is very important, it is really crucial to work with the teachers after the training, not only during, but after. And we need to ask the teachers to develop activities and to assess the activities, to share, I would not say good practices, but sensible practices. In the Council of Europe, I have a PowerPoint to help me because in the Council of Europe we are trying to define a set of digital competences that citizens should develop from the crib. The main aim, and it's to answer one of the current challenges. Of course, we want to answer different challenges, but one of the most important is which are the transversal competences for assessing, communicating, participating, and creating online. And what can be the role of the Council of Europe? Of course, the Council of Europe has already big experience regarding digital citizenship education and citizenship education itself, of course. There are legal instruments developed by the Council of Europe like internet governance, human rights, children's rights, data protection, privacy, media information literacy or media literacy, of course. And the Council of Europe, which works with 47 countries, of course, and in the education department with 50 countries, suggests integrated policies, policies that we can say that are not prescriptive, but descriptive, mainly descriptive. Recently, one of the groups developed the competence model, the competences for democratic culture, and this is the starting point of the most recent project of the educational policy division of the COE, Council of Europe. What we are trying to find out is the set of competences, digital competences that the children should start developing from the crib and continuing in preschool, primary school, and so on. The main idea or the basis is safety and protection are really important, of course. We are not saying that they are not important, but we are trying to move from policies aimed at safety and protection to policies that promote positive measures and empowerment. Prepare citizens. Not only try to avoid problems, but try to train people to act in a positive way online and offline. So we think that that is really, really important to reshape the responsibilities of the education sector and its major actors, and this means ministries of education, school boards, teachers associations, teachers, families, local communities, because it's really important to work at the community level, starting from the basis. Until now, the project is called Digital Citizenship Education. What we have done so far, the literature review, the conceptual framework, and multi-stakeholder consultation on sensible practices in Europe over the 47 countries. The project is going to be officially launched the 21st and 22nd of September during a meeting that will take place in Strasbourg. And after that, after hearing the hearing of the specialists, teachers, students, and other actors, we are going to try to develop guidelines, share best practices for each competence. We are going to develop descriptors, and those descriptors will be tested in European schools with children, teachers, families, and local communities. My aim is to try to find out if these competences through the descriptors are teachable, learnable, and measurable. And of course, after that, if possible, we want to share all the experience and suggestion to all the COE member states. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Wouter, for your interesting presentation. And I've noticed that there were new ideas, new concepts in your presentation. So we see such a notion as transversal skills, or I've just noticed empathy mentioned among the skills, the ability to understand another person's feelings while being in a digital environment, not to harm. So in our increasingly digital world, the skill needs are continuously evolving. And policymakers need to make sure that everyone can learn new skills. Meanwhile, most existing education systems at all levels provide traditional training and continue 20th century practices. One popular study says that 65% of children entering primary schools today will ultimately work in new job types and functions that currently don't exist. Clara, my question is to you. What a true 21st century curriculum might look like? The floor is yours.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting us and enabling us today to share our view on this crucial issue. So maybe to start, I'd like to differentiate between three different types of skills and competencies when we talk about digital that we think are really important. So when we're talking about skills, of course, you have the digital skills, the competencies you need for a job, what will be looked for, how to use a computer, how to launch a marketing campaign online. Those are really crucial. We also talk about digital literacy. What does it mean, digital literate? You are a digital literate if you know how to handle yourself online, if you know how to be safe, if you know the importance of posting the right information and not divulging any private information if you're not aware of the consequences it can have. But third concept, we also talk about digital citizenship today. So what does it mean? Digital citizen for us is someone we can commit, engage on the web, be there, react, and call out when something out there happened that shouldn't happen. And those three important concepts, we try to support it because it just takes a connection to have internet, but it takes engagement, education, and commitment to have digital citizens. And that is why at Google we really try to play a part and support those efforts. I'll try to focus on 5 different dimensions that we think are really important in this debate and explain what private companies can do in that regard and give you also a few examples of what we're doing at Google. So the first part, we've talked at length about it, but it's key, education. We have to form the new generation. We have to explain how to be safe online again, how to make the most of the online environment. And there are lots of civil society work that are working on it and trying then to engage with it as the topic evolves, and we try to support them, be it from handbook that we also help to prepare for teachers with example of activities that they can do with their kids. Another example is a recent contest, online contest that we organized for teenagers. It was called Connected, the game, and it was an online game for teenagers from 8 different countries, and they had to fill questions on how to be safe online, also copyright issues, various online topics, actual one. And they were in contest between each other everywhere in Europe to have the most right answers. The second dimension that I wanted to touch upon is training, because we're talking about young people, but there are also lots of people that are not in the education system anymore that would benefit from digital skills training. We see there are lots of job openings and lots of people who want a job, so we have to match the two. And that's a thing that we've really been committed to recently at Google. We've launched an online platform, which is called the Digital Workshop, that you can look for. And on this platform, you can find lots of free online trainings to form yourself in how to make the most out of the web, online marketing, online advertising, different skills that are essential to business. And we've combined it with lots of trainings in different countries. I'll give you one example, an Italian one. So if there are any Italian, pardon my Italian. The program is called Crescere in Digitale. We partner with the Ministry of Labor in Italy, and we've offered online training for all the needs, so all the people that were not in education, employment, or training, that were also part of the Youth Guarantee. We offer them a training, and then in combination and in collaboration with the Ministry of Labor, we help them to find a paid internship in a company that needed to have this digital expertise as a first step towards employment. So education first, training then. Then the third point that I wanted to mention is empowerment. So exactly along the line that has just been said. We also need, in order to have fully fledged digital citizen, to help them and empower them to choose which kind of internet do they want to have. How do they want to behave online? And one thing that comes to my mind in terms of what Google is doing in that regard is in the field of privacy and safety. So for instance, we have developed what is called My Account. I invite all of you to go on it, because it will help you to better understand what we are doing with your data. We know it's a sensitive topic, and to make the decisions that are right for you. On this tool, you can decide which kind of data are collected and what we do with that. So empower people to choose how the internet will be and how they want to be part of it. The first point that I wanted to mention is giving people a voice. We're really happy to see that many people are embracing internet and YouTube also in particular, like your son, Crystal, as a platform to express their views, and we really want to contribute to that. Because we believe that everybody has something to say, and there's lots of people who want to engage, to commit. They want to be digital citizens, and we have to help them express their voices. That's also why we've launched another program, which is called Creators for Change. What does it mean? It means we are supporting YouTube creators that want to make something positive out there in the world. Because they care, they want to promote tolerance, they want to fight against hate speech. Maybe they care about sustainable development, and we want to empower them through grants, production facilities, to develop more videos, and to be able to express themselves and contribute to this digital world that we're all living in. And the last point I wanted to stress that I think is really important is also acknowledgement. I think it's really important that we recognize all those people that work, that are digital citizenship, that are out there, that say something when they see something happening online and not just offline, when they will see a video that is not appropriate, well, they will see cyberbullying on someone receiving mean comments and act. And this is really important to acknowledge those people and reward them. And that's the last point I wanted to make. Looking forward to the questions.
Thank you, Clara, for this very interesting presentation. As we see that the future is coming, and internet combined with the Internet of Things may transform most of the jobs across all industries, requiring a much higher level of digital literacy than in past. And those technological changes create many cross-functional jobs for which people will need technical, social, and analytical skills. And with automation of some functions and some jobs, a wide range of occupations will require a higher degree of cognitive abilities, such as creativity, logical reasoning, problem sensitivity. My question is to you, Dr. Balina, what type of skill development policies are needed to reduce the risk of increased unemployment and growing inequality? And should those skill development policies be government-led or private sector supported, or bottom-up through community initiatives, or a mixture? The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. And I would like to say that the world is going digital, and we need to manage with the challenges of the skills. And later you also would like to provide two examples from Latvia, how we manage with this. And digital skills are very important, and also in the new skills agenda that the European Commission published last June, the digital skills is one huge part. As we see, all countries are working on digital skills, and also European Council is working on digital skills. And I think we need to manage with this, because it is a huge challenge. And what we look to this, how we manage in Latvia, I think this is classical multi-stakeholder approach, and how we can manage and how we can manage with this challenge is to work together, private sector and public sector, because there is no way for only private sector or only for public sector to manage with this. And the question is that, of course, the digital skills nowadays is something like one of the basic skills, like literacy, like numeracy, and they are setting the basis for functioning digital society, and of course also digital single market all around Europe. And we have modern technologies, we have modern communication tools, but the question, yes, still is, are our citizens ready for this? And are our citizens skilled? And we have those two groups of citizens. We have digital natives, the young generation, and the digital immigrants, me and many of you also in this audience, because we do not grow together with the internet, together with the digital technologies. But nevertheless, there are still many young people who use the internet daily, but do not have the skills necessary to convert this usage of internet in actual job, in IT sector or whatever other sector, because in all sectors of our economy, we need digital skills. We need to be digitally literacy. And this is despite that we have huge youth unemployment in Europe. And we have a lack of IT specialists all around Europe and all around the world. And on national level in Latvia, as I mentioned before, we put together efforts for both for public sector and from private sector to develop digital skills policy, and to also later to coordinate this policy and to coordinate also the development of this policy, because no one state institution, no one business organization, and no one IT or another industry association or trade union can manage this by itself. And when we are speaking about the digital skills at national level in Latvia, this involves the competencies of many ministries. I think it's the same case in many countries. It is the Ministry of Education, it is Ministry of Economics, because it is next people who will work in labor market, yeah? And this is the Ministry of Welfare, and this is also the Ministry, in our case, of Regional Development and Environmental Protection, because this ministry is responsible for the development of information society and e-government in Latvia. And on the policy planning level, we have the digital skills development strategy, and this strategy is included in our national development plan. It means that at the policy level, we point out and we stress how important the digital skills are for the country and for the development of the country. And yes, as I mentioned before, we develop those documents in really, really close cooperation with the industries, because there is no other way how to manage this. I would like to give some practical examples because, of course, we need to plan how to develop digital skills for digital native as well as for digital immigrants, for small and for entrepreneurs, for civil servants, for all members of society. And in Latvia, we have more than 95% of all people, of all companies are small and medium enterprises. And small and medium enterprises ensure jobs for almost 2/3 of population. And we found out that there is a major gap in ICT skills level between, and also the usage of digital technologies between small enterprises and large enterprises. And of course, we need to manage what to do in such a situation. And now we have ongoing project on digital technology and innovation training for small and micro enterprises with support of European Regional Development Fund. And the aim is to provide training for more than 7,000, to provide more than 7,000 trainings in 3 digital domains, in technologies, in digital tools, and also in digitalization of business processes. We had similar project in last years, and we had more than 6,500 trainings, and we trained employees from 1,500 small and micro enterprises in Latvia, and in all regions, in many places in our country. And we found out that this is very, very important, because training for employees in large enterprises, it is something usual, but for small enterprises, sometimes it is absolutely unusual. And sometimes we found out that there are people who are not active, and they are not in lifelong learning. And therefore, we need to find out how to help them to be digitally literate and to understand the benefits from digitalization. And the question, and we started with some simple examples, with some simple programs, how to present your company, how to run your business, about the marketing, about the online marketing, if you are not in the internet, how your client can find you, and what to do, how to communicate with the client. And another idea in our country is, of course, about the digital natives. We started in the year 2015, computing from the first class, from the first grade, and we started this project as a pilot in more than 20% of all schools over all the country. And now we involved more than 24,000 pupils and teachers. We trained pupils, but first of all, we train teachers. And this is also a good project for cooperation, because this idea about this pilot was introduced by private sector, by ICT Association, by Accenture Latvia, by IT company in Latvia, in cooperation with universities, in cooperation with schools. And the idea is that we have something like training materials and also support, online support 24 hours per day for teachers who teach the pupils in coding also, yeah, but also what is necessary that pupils, they need to understand what to do and how to do in this digital environment, yeah, how to live in this digital environment. And of course, critical thinking, algorithmic thinking, all such things we need to put in curricula starting from the first grade. And now there is huge project and huge changes in education system in Latvia, and starting from the year 2018, we will starting with a new curricula on competence-based curricula, and let's see. But I think that only together we can do a lot of good and necessary things. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Everyone in the room is invited to contribute to discussion, and if we have remote participants, they are more than welcome to send their comments and questions. So we are happy to answer your questions. Oliana,
Yes.
can we bring this mic?
Yeah. Oh, okay.
No, wait.
You can.
Can we put it here?
Hi. I just wanted to share my experience with trainings and education within the educational system. I'm Liliana. I come from Data Protection Agency. I'm the PR of the agency and also work within the project. I'm the project manager of the privacy lessons. It is a project that, it is a 3-year project actually. And I'm working with the 3 target groups within the educational system, with the parents, the children, and the teachers. And basically, I just want to echo what was previously said. I made a research, first of all, at the high schools, the entire high schools in the capital of the state. And I asked around 800 students from high school to tell me if they face online abuse, if they face data protection breach, if they face a privacy concern, or cyberbullying, or no hate speech within the school environment, to whom they want to address first, to the teachers or to the parents. And they said, this is a sensitive matter, but I want to address to the parent first. I want to be able to discuss it within my home or within a safe and secure environment, and then I want to be understood from my teacher, not just to tell the teacher, but to have a teacher that who is going to be with more digital understanding, the competences that will be able to tell me what next, and not to just, bring on the issue within the school highest level. So basically, when I turned to the parents of these high school students, I asked them, what do you think? Where do, if you face with these issues or the same questions? And the parents said, oh, no, we don't know how to address these issues. These are the issues and topics that my children are supposed to learn into the school environment. So basically, the parents just back away from the issue. And when I asked those teachers within the same schools, the teachers said, okay, but the children actually know much more from us. And they know all about computers, and we are not digitally literate, and we do not have received enough trainings. We don't have competences to address and to answer them. What happens if I lose my authority when I don't have the answer as a teacher? I'm supposed to have all the answers as a teacher. So basically, I had around 10,000 of students, and based on this research, that are left alone in a school environment without any answers from both the parents and the teachers, and it was very sad. But we need to move on, and I tried for these 3 years to provide each Monday morning a training to different school, different 30 participants, different 30 students on different topics, on policy, privacy, which they don't read, on the safe online, how to behave on the internet, on data protection, on privacy issues, cyberbullying. No hate speech was definitely the first topic they would come to as a carrot, let's say, to discuss much more on the issues. What I want to say that basically we need to face all of the 3 target groups at the same time if we want to have strict results, and we need a systematic approach, first of all, for the teachers. I mean, parents as parents, you cannot urge them to have a computer in each home if they're not able to have it, or you cannot urge parents as much as you have to urge teachers, and you must, let's say, it's a must, it's a to-do work. So basically, one more thing. We launched a project, and it's an Erasmus project. We thought that maybe we could have a special curricula for postgraduate studies. And I'm drafting the curricula for this postgraduate studies on these topics. in order for those teachers or the age rate from the teachers that could possibly want to learn much more and to gain competences again, because it is not a curricula that is going to be within the pedagogy faculties, but within the IT faculties. And therefore, we kind of addressed this issue with a small group of teachers that are willing to move on with their education. So basically, it's a long run program for all of us, but again, as I wanted to point out, that not only Ministry of Education, but also the data protection agencies could be part of this lifelong learning program for our teachers into gaining competences and skills for IT. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I just briefly comment on that?
Crystal?
From the perspective of my profession and professional belief, I would say yes, the teachers are the key figures. However, I would still emphasize that it would be, to my belief again, it should be 50-60 for the favor of parents. Because this is where the values are actually developed, and this is the main time a child spends is with the families. The families are the ones checking in Dubai, just announcing to the world that their homes are open to thieves and such approaches. So attitudes come also mainly from families. Of course, they can be further designed and hopefully designed for the better within schools. But again, the role of families, parents, and the public in a wider speaking is a very significant factor in this play.
Just one sentence. We have to be careful with the parents, and we have to get careful policy design, especially for them. I prepared a guide for parents for these issues, answering all of the questions and having all the reporting mechanisms. If something happens, what to do step by step. It was online, and they all requested the printed version.
But you also got online the one already online.
Okay.
Hi. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Your question, please.
Okay. I'm Rosie Baco from Romania. I would like to address for each of the speakers a couple of words. Stephen, library as a space for digital empowerment, I think it's a very good example because it's an institutionalized, prepared, already connected to the digital highway. I would be interested maybe in the coffee break to know more about such empowerment projects that could be implemented in countries like Romania. I know that small town libraries in Romania worked together with Goldsmiths University from London in a digital storytelling project which was aimed at empowering elderly citizens. So I will be contacting you in the coffee break. Crystal, very inspiring, this YouTube idea. I participate in this COST network on digital literacy for 0 to 8. So maybe YouTube would be also a space of research, not only of empowerment, but also to look at how connected are these very young generations to the YouTube. Vitor, hello from the COST team. It is very important to see that there is a systematic approach, and this term of digital empowerment, which is embraced by the European Council. I'm very interested in how these projects go on, so I will contact you in the break. What is related to this in recent literature is that more and more digital inclusion and digital empowerment is connected on a research level with social inclusion. So for years, social inclusion was a separate research topic, as if it was disconnected from the internet highway, and digital literacy was on a separate track, like they were totally disconnected, and recent research is addressing them together. I also read an article about the digital underclass, which is a quite harsh way of putting those left behind, a new term in the literature. Clara, these Google tools, I think they are useful. I think we those who are more interested in these issues, I talk about myself, we should learn, we should be ourselves more open and test these instruments and recommend them for those who want to learn, because the way I'm very impressed by Lilian's ideas and Dr. Balina's impressive number of teacher trainings. I don't know if it would be implemented in Romania. We don't have a digital literacy curriculum yet. It's all what is done in Romania is done by the civil society sector. Organizations like Save the Children or Association for Technology and Internet, or we were doing as Strawberry Net Foundation since 1995, we were doing some netiquette courses. So it's a lot to do for us, digital immigrants as well, and I think it's non-stop learning for all of us. Thank you.
Can you?
Is it fine? Or?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Evaldas Rupkus from International Youth Service of Germany, EAP. What you have been saying, and also Clara, I think that we are facing a situation where it's getting obvious that we need something quicker reacting and more flexible than sometimes education system can be. And sadly, I have the feeling that my generation cannot just trust on my parents' generation, because they've grown up in totally different circumstances, and that's why teachers do feel sometimes overwhelmed with the questions, and they don't want to lose their authority. So what I think it's missing here in the discussion is the non-formal approach, or the approach that from our side we are working, and sorry for a little pitch now. The youth work and youth information work is doing that already since several years, and working on digital skills, especially with those, as Clara also said, that are out of system. What do we do with those who are not in schools, neither in education nor in training? So this is also something that I think we shouldn't forget from our scope of view. Especially there are actors as European Youth Information and Counseling Agency, ERICA, that works since 30 years and has a network of 13,000 youth information workers all over Europe, who go to also schools, who go to beaches, even just there where young people are, and try to get them. They just take the Facebook application with them, asking people to get on board and just check your privacy settings. So just making it very handy and very easy to understand. So this is something that young people can start with and see what the potential, what maybe the risks are.
Thank you.
Okay. Hi. Yes, good morning. Marianne Franklin. I'm speaking this afternoon with the extension of this workshop. I'm also speaking as an educator today from Goldsmiths. So yes, I've really enjoyed this panel. I've learned a lot. I think there are, in each of the presentations, there's some very important initiatives. But there's a big disconnect I'd like to put to you, and that disconnect is within educational institutions, particularly large ones like universities, technical universities, and there are the teachers, so-called, who are also researchers. There are students, so-called digital natives. There's the management, and then in the middle, there's your IT department, the ones who handle the privacy, the infrastructure resilient, and then next to them, parallel, are the virtual learning environment, online learning platform staff. And there's a huge disconnect within the institutions. And what is happening, sadly, is more and more commercial platforms which are large, for instance, massive open online courses, MOOCs, M-O-O-C, as these are being pushed into the curriculum as the sort of silver bullet to resolve all our recruitment issues, let's say, or marketing issues, the assumption is that this is always better. And the assumption that's starting to become embedded in, across the board, not just in the UK and Canada, is that the educator, the academic teacher researcher, is ignorant, and that the student is young, always, and knows everything about these technologies. And as the panel has shown today, that is not the case. But in the middle is this idea that if you digitize, you put it all online, nothing really changes. But that is not true. It changes how you design your program, it changes how you deliver your program, it affects the sort of content that is considered legitimate. But my concern is the disconnect is that these platforms are being designed without talking to the researcher teacher, and they're being designed on the assumption that all the digital natives are under 25. We have a lot of returning students, which ties to another problematic assumption, is that older people are digitally illiterate and younger people are digitally literate. If anyone's worked with a young student today, you will know they are not literate in the ways that we understand literacy. So I'd like to know what the panel thinks about how you address these disconnects within the institutions, because they have an effect on how privacy is understood from the educator's point of view. They have an effect on the resistance that's starting to build, the idea, what is wrong with printing it out? Why should you not print it out? I've printed out my notes for this afternoon. What, does that make me a dinosaur? No, it doesn't. I think part of the literacy profile we're building here, there has to be alternatives, and there have to be low-fi understandings of digital and high-fi understandings of digital, and understandings that's more than just pressing an application button. Not everybody wants to be a computer programmer. So I know you're on your way to addressing these connections, but organizationally, how do we get our IT departments, our virtual learning teams, our teachers and our students talking together so this starts to make sense and we get critical skills and diverse sorts of skills? Thank you very much.
Crystal, please, could you answer the question?
Yes, thank you for the question. It's always very challenging to talk about higher education because of the autonomy the universities have and so on. Yeah, it has been, it was expected the MOOCs to be the new revolution. Just for the fact I've heard from the universities that it's actually the cost for designing MOOCs relies on the marketing budget line, not on the content creation budget line. So that's echo to you back as well on that. When talking about digital skills in higher education, we can talk about how students learn and teachers teach. It's also known that professors from the universities are not so eager to attend the trainings the general education teachers attend, because they sort of need or expect certain other approaches. Which is a very useful tool in Estonia. It's also in vocational education and general education. We had this mentor called educational technologists. It's more digitally competent teacher who supports other teachers using technology. Also, designing these courses as blended courses, not bearing in mind that MOOC should be there, but blended learning today should be work-based, audience, and also web-based learning, depends on the subject and objectives to be reached. So this educational technologist is something that is, well taken on board by the universities to become as fascinating as general education schools are already today. So this is a shift today. We know this also in Estonia, that it's very fun in primary education in basic school, it's fun in upper secondary level, but it's getting more boring in higher education in terms of pedagogy. So this needs to be shifted. And I still believe that web-based learning, with the help of MOOC, even though it's questionable when this should be online course or when MOOC starts and online course ends. But in terms of MOOCs, it's a very good awareness-raising tool. It's a very good tool for adult training. And I attended one MOOC myself to understand better what the concept is behind that, why the universities are asking such money from me, what they are asking, and also wanted to know more about coding, learning Python. There were different conclusions coming out from there. For example, coding is not for me, but this is a very good awareness-raising tool because many people attending this course entered formal education in higher education to study IT. So this is one value of the MOOC. I don't know whether I responded to the remarks, but thanks.
Thank you. Another question.
Hi, my name's Ansgar Kuhne from the University of Nottingham. First of all, the various approaches towards digital citizenship education that we heard from the panel sound to me quite superior to what we've been hearing from the UK so far. So congratulations on that. But I was wondering, since we're at a multi-stakeholder forum here, to what extent the stakeholder of the student has been involved in the development of these kinds of programs that you're presenting. For instance, I'm thinking about one of the projects that we did interacting with the 13 to 17-year-old crowd, and one of the things that they brought up is what they would want to have some skills with, or how to deal with issue, was the stickiness of a lot of the online platforms and things that they're dealing with, that once you start with it, it's really difficult to let go of it. You know, they're losing sleep because there's constantly new things that they need to be doing on the app, etc. So help us with getting away from the stickiness of this thing, just as an example of something that came out of that stakeholder group's perspectives.
Thank you very much for the question. Steven, you, Clara, please.
Yeah, just to say that I absolutely agree on and I think it's maybe something we haven't made clear in the discussion, that every group should be involved, and we've discussed on the target groups. But we've seen that many programs are mostly useful if they're also designed together with the kids. So in our case, we're mostly focused on the children. So we've involved them in the handbook, for instance. So which kind of activity will work best? And also one thing to mention, and I think maybe I forgot to mention it earlier, is the importance of associating other young people and the role that YouTubers can play in that regard, for instance. So the role of influencers, be it YouTubers or other young person, that young person can look up to, and that can play a very positive, that can have very positive influence in every program that we're designing. But yes, we have to design with them together.
Thank you very much. And Victor, you also have some perspectives to speak.
Just 2-3 comments, really short comments. I think it is important, at least as far as I know, but in Portugal and maybe in other countries too, it's important to tell universities, especially universities that train teachers, that media information literacy or digital citizenship education is not ICT education or ICT in education. This is really important because even teachers and parents, most of them, they think that this is ICT, this is about computer literacy, and this is much more than that. The second comment is the youth sector is most welcomed in all, at least in our projects in Portugal. When I say community-based projects, this means formal, informal, and non-formal contexts. For instance, in a small primary school, where I'm working with 180 students, their families, and 10 teachers, the psychologist, the social service, they make part of our group discussions when we are trying to develop new activities with the students. But also the football club, the other sports club, all the people from the community, the local library, for instance. And a final comment, I think it's important. When we ask students, if you face problems online, hate speech or other, what would you do? I would speak with my parent or my teacher. But we can ask, did you face this? Yes. And what did you do? Oh, I talked a little bit and then I talked with the peers. So it's really important to train peers to identify the most resilient students and to try to improve, to empower them as key peers that are able to talk with others and to hear from others.
Grabbing the mic again, sorry for speaking so much. Regarding the stickiness, isn't this the case where we think that stickiness is too much? Because as a parent, of course, we need to choose the right games to be stuck to, but I for sure have used technology for babysitting. So it's sort of very fun to go jogging outside when my daughter spends time with the tablets. But sorry, this is just a remark. But what is happening in Estonia is that we have made, of course it's not yet mainstream. It's in very many schools. And I would like to, next time I would like to point out figures and percentages. But the lessons are today designed so that they are sticky themselves. So actually, children enjoy, in math lesson, as I said, use robots. They are learning geometry with the help of robots. In language lessons, they design web pages. So they actually are doing those things that they enjoy consuming. So to be more aware what they are consuming is one figure. And this has made this education, we have asked also, of course, our representation of students. We have those in also as 16-year-olds, as well as for the upper secondary level, and what they expect from digital skills or from the strategy, education strategy in Estonia. And they actually echo back. They echo back on the same issues that we have outlined. They understand the concept. Of course, they are not using pedagogy as often as we use this word, but they say that with the help of computers, it's much more interesting to learn. And also it's very practical. Just one very good example how we make the education sticky is a very new example of how new skills are necessary to develop. It's, we have used to listening or hearing that we have mathematical key competence. It's no longer anymore about only calculating or numeracy only, it's about data analysis. In our innovative school, which was designed as a zero energy school, they have installed the sensors in the classrooms to measure the carbon dioxide and the different dimensions that they are measuring with the sensors, and the students are analyzing the same data. Why during these hours, for example, the level of the carbon dioxide was so high? Because, I don't know, the choir was singing in the room or something like that. So this is something that is, we are making education more practical. They see the value of the skills being learned in school, and they get more sticky to the education. Of course, in Estonia, we have also the privilege to learn and teach in Estonian, and not so much different sticky things are available in Estonian than in English, but, but the language doesn't seem to be a problem when gaming comes into picture.
So I'm sort of partly going to respond to Marianne's question earlier as well as the one here. Totally get the point on youth. We can't just sort of wait and hope for the problem to die off. That's not a responsible way of doing things. We need solutions that work for everyone in the community. And so you need all relevant community institutions potentially involved in this. I think what Vitor was saying about aiming at, it's not just the schools, it's the libraries, it's the football clubs. etc., etc. That's super important. I think it's actually a quite slightly controversial thing to say, saying anything positive about the UK at the moment, but at least in the latest digital strategy document that came out, this one every 2 years or so, I think, there was the idea of an obligation on government to make sure that citizens are digitally skilled, digitally literate. Now, if you actually set out a very specific curriculum, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, that doesn't really work. I think you have to focus on, well, what are the outcomes, and then allow people the flexibility to respond and to work out, well, how do you actually get there? And again, this is a plea for community institutions, so schools for the under 18s, universities for the over 18s and beyond, but also libraries, social centres, who can look at, well, what are the needs? Potentially, actually, I don't know, clearly MOOCs have been very well sold as a silver bullet. Well done, MOOC producers, good job. It's complicated. Education is complicated. If education was easy, then we would have solved it a long time ago, but we're still having to do it, we're still having to innovate. There's no silver bullet. MOOCs will help for a large number of people, but again, you need mixed ways of doing things, responsive ways of doing things. I think that's broadly, oh yeah, and the final point I was going to say is that, and I think that came out in many of the examples here, and I hope in the examples I was giving, I think if we paint digital as this fantastic new techie world, it's slightly intimidating. It's mixing it with skills that people are already trying to give. And critical thinking is nothing new. Problem solving is nothing new. Creation is nothing new. I don't know, underlining that it is a change in what's already happening, but it's not that, it's only so dramatic. It's not a massively different skill set. Everyone in what they do is doing things digitally now, but making them understand that you can flourish as a community, you can engage in civic life using these new digital skills, makes it potentially more approachable as a thing, less scary, really.
Thank you very much. And we have another question also from the audience.
Thank you. Fiorella Belgio from European Schoolnet. First of all, I would like to thank all the panelists and everybody in the audience who contributed with so many lessons learned and best practices so far. And if I may, I would like also to bring in one example. I'm not sure how many of you heard about the Digital Skills and Jobs Coalition, but if you hadn't, you'll probably look it up online after my comment. We're talking here about an initiative by the European Commission to tackle the lack of digital skills that may lead to 500,000 ICT professionals, so a lack of 500,000 ICT professionals by 2020. Now, why do I know about this Digital Skills and Jobs Coalition? Because at European Schoolnet, the nonprofit organization for which I'm working for, is doing the secretariat together with Digital Europe and Telecenter Europe, and we also made a pledge to contribute to tackle this lack of digital skills through our educational projects. And one example of this project, and just commenting upon basically elements that you mentioned in your presentations, you mentioned that you were surprised that your child wanted to become a YouTuber. Now, YouTubers are today's online trendsetters, or at least some of the main ones. And we know this because at one of our projects, which is called Better Internet for Kids, that we coordinate on behalf of the European Commission, and we work through a network of Safe.Am centers across Europe. We had a publication last year in December, specifically talking about online advertising, and we also had a video, so a vlog from Evelina. She's a famous YouTuber from Latvia, and she was talking about youth entrepreneurship and how at 16 years old she became a national star, and how she started earning money, and how many other young people are watching her and see her as a role model, if not just trendsetter. So you also mentioned MOOCs, and at European Schoolnet we had an online safety MOOC that my colleague Sabrina here was coordinating. And we were aiming to reach out to teachers, but not only, who wanted to learn more about online safety and media literacy that could be taught to young people. So it was just to raise awareness that, and to echo all these best practices that have been shared so far. And if you have any questions about the project, we are here, and we also have a representative from the Portuguese Safety Net Center, so thank you.
Just a short comment about the jobs, digital jobs and coalition. Being the one member of the subcommittee designing the framework, the main issue that seems to be problematic in different countries, because the reason why we need such frameworks is that states don't have common strategies. Countries have very many different strategies, and they haven't agreed on this kind of objectives or results, so everybody are doing their own business. It shouldn't be the case.
Hi, my name is Auk Pals. I'm a Dutch student, information science at the University of Amsterdam, and I'm also printing, so no worries. I got two questions. One, we are living in a rapid world. Everything is changing rather quickly. And if we design a training on one period, it may be already outdated when it's getting implemented or getting executed. How can we assure that the trainings are being developed constantly? And secondly, the politicians in the countries are deciding about issues that are also, they are needed to have good digital skills. But some of them are just voting and don't really have a clue about the digital things they are voting for. How can we assure that also politicians are trained and also people working at the ministries so that they can decide really about issues they know about?
I would like, can I give some short answer to your both questions? First, about the curriculums, how to be sure that everything will be not outdated. Yeah, I think there is very important this cooperation between public and private sector. For example, in case of Latvia, we have this initiative, this association Start IT, and all the time, IT specialists. People from industry is looking on those curriculums, and we are together with teachers, industry together with teachers, create the content. And because of course the world is changing so quickly, and all this administrative process is so long. Yeah, therefore I think it's very important that there is this dialogue between public sector and private sector, and that private sector take care also about the content and what the pupils are training on at schools. The next question about the politicians and about the people on politicians' side. In Latvia, we are also planning a lot of trainings for civil servants, and also a lot of trainings for the high level of civil servants. And we had trainings on cybersecurity and other such issues, because it is really important that our police makers, they know, and they are also up to date what is going on. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. We are approaching the conclusion part of our session, and so we all have come to a conclusion that we have come to an understanding that digital literacy today means much more than just mastering some certain competence. These are like, it should integrate technical, social, analytical, empathy, and empowered with a wide set of skills. Digitally savvy citizens know, they know their responsibilities, their rights, they value personal privacy, they know how to protect themselves from cybercrime, they embrace tools to protect their privacy and safety online, and they know how to use, to create, to produce content in a responsible manner. And Also, transversal skills are very much important. The connections between different competencies, and efforts are required from all stakeholders at different levels of society. Government, civil society institutions, private sector, this should be like common universal efforts from everyone. Do you have any comments? Any more comments? If not, we will thank everyone for participating in our workshop. Thank you, everyone. And we will continue this discussion about what a 21st century curriculum may look like during our next workshops and during our next meetings. Since this is a complicated question, complicated issue, and we will need to meet more discussions, more experts to come to some interesting conclusions. Thank you very much, everyone.
You may take this. Sorry. You may take Estonian curriculum as basis.
Thank you. Thank you very much.